rights and disability activists from Mexico. Thank you for this opportunity to testify before the Commission on the human rights of children and adults with disabilities who are detained in Mexico's institutions. My organization, Disability Rights International, first investigated and reported on the rights of people with disabilities in Mexican institutions back in 2000. As a result of our finding of horrendous abuses in Mexican institutions, this Commission expressed concern in its annual report on Mexico in 2000 about Mexico's treatment of people with disabilities. We returned 10 years later. Mexico had ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities and formed a coalition with disability and human rights activists in Mexico to examine Mexico's compliance with the new convention and its protection of basic rights under the American Convention. The video that you will see today is a product of that investigation. I am sorry to say it is as if time has stood still. The horrendous human rights violations that we saw then are taking place today on a large scale. Mexico has failed to create the community-based services and support systems that would allow people with disabilities to be part of society. As a result, thousands of children and adults remain segregated in Mexico's psychiatric institutions, orphanages, social care homes, and other facilities. 10 years later, inhuman and degrading treatment, and yes, torture, is widespread. Children are at particular risk of institutionalization. The placement of a child with a disability is likely to be a life sentence to segregation from society.
5 years old? And how much of her day does she spend sitting in bed? So she's here all day, but they turn her around.
Yes, and sometimes she sits in the yard.
Within institutions, children and adults are tied down to beds or wheelchairs. After 10 years, we returned to institutions and found the same people rocking back and forth in inactivity, in the same rooms, in the same positions that we observed 10 years ago. We found some of the same individuals tied down who we had photographed 10 years earlier. The use of prolonged restraints constitutes nothing less than torture. Laws to protect against improper restraint have not been adopted. People can still be detained for life without an independent hearing. People can be stripped of their right to legal capacity in violation of CRPD Article 12. This makes it impossible for victims of abuse to seek justice in violation of Articles 8 and 25 of the American Convention.
Let's see something like hell.
You're the director here and you just...
Children and adults have literally disappeared into institution. Our report is dedicated to the memory of Ilse Michel Martinez, a girl admitted to an institution at the age of 6, when her grandmother, Ardelia, came to find the young girl she had disappeared. Article 19 of the CRPD recognizes the right of every person with a disability to live in the community with choices equal to others. We ask this Commission to recognize that the segregation from society in violation of Article 19 also constitutes discrimination under the American Convention. We call on this Commission to investigate for itself, to conduct a visit into institutions in Mexico, to see for themselves the inhuman and degrading treatment and torture and the ways people are systematically stripped of their rights. And we call on Mexico to provide full protection of the American Convention for people with disabilities and to integrate them fully.